Okay, well, hi Laura. I'm so happy to be talking to you. It's really just like a weird full circle moment because I used to watch you on Austin and Ally. So
Oh
like the fact that they asked me to do it, I was like, oh my God, yes, of
my goodness,
course.
crazy. Okay, that makes me so happy. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, of course. You were great on that show. That was like the tail end of me watching Disney Channel was you.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I was wondering what the cutoff because I feel like I know it's funny. The demographic on it was bananas because
yeah.
it would stretch into early 20s, but also go into like 7 or 8. So
I
it was so
know.
crazy.
Yeah, so I guess my first question for you would be I know that the first installment of your trilogy happened in 2019. But like, did you know for a while that you wanted to do like a trilogy kind of project, or did it kind of just happen like naturally, organically? You're like, wow, let me do this idea.
Yeah. Okay. So a little bit of both, right? So I think when I was working on me, I had a lot of music that I knew I wanted it to continue, but it didn't make sense to put it all on that EP. It would be more
Yeah.
of an album, and I was too scared to do that. But I love the idea of having a trilogy. So while I was working on me, I very much was like, it would be really cool. Wouldn't it be cool
Yeah.
to have me, you, and us, right? Um, and at the time, right, a lot of the music was inspired by my relationship. I was
Mhm.
falling in love. I'd gone through another breakup, but I was like in the middle of also falling in love. So there was a lot of music that was about that, carried on into the UEP. And so after I did the UEP, I definitely was like, okay, I got to do the trilogy conclusion. I want to do
Yeah.
us. And then I went through a breakup. And so all of a sudden, this EP that I always envisioned was kind of like the happily ever after of the rest of the EPs. Um, the music wasn't going there, right? You kind of can't
Hmm.
control where the music's gonna go. I was just writing a lot of breakup songs and sad songs. And so uh, it became very apparent that this EP was going to be different than I had originally pictured it. But
Yeah.
I still wanted it to be a part of this trilogy. And
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, it's kind of, symbolic of how life works, right? You
Yeah, for
have
sure.
these expectations. Life doesn't go that way. Obviously, we all saw that a few years ago. Um, so it's funny because I'm also writing the most music I've had written in a long time and loving the music. So this conclusion isn't definitely the end of the story by any means. In
Yeah.
some ways, it's where one story ends and another one begins. And so you could tell I very much also loved the like uh, symbolism of all like the story
Yeah.
aspects, right?
Well, it's relatable for sure because, not everything turns out the way that we think or that we plan. And I think just kind of showing a little bit of reality in that is really cool. What was like the creative process for you, like making these projects, these EPs, like just a little bit of like how you would write a song or what would prompt you to write?
Oh yeah. So it's funny, right? Um, a project has so many different creative aspects, right? You have like
Yeah.
the aesthetic part, you have obviously the music part, you have the marketing aspect. So I think just focusing and talking about the music, the first two EPs, both, I mean, ish on the second EP, because there was a song I'd written like 2 months before I released it. But most of the songs from that came from a lot of writing sessions that I was doing when I was at a label. Um,
Okay.
and I got to keep the music when that didn't end up working out, which was awesome. Um, but it was a lot of music that I really loved and really connected to. And the thought of it never coming out was too heartbreaking to me.
Hmm.
So I was like, oh, that needs to come out and be here. The UEP had a song that I wrote by myself. It was my first time ever releasing a song that I had just written.
Oh, wow.
And that one was a new one. But the Us EP, you know, most of this music are songs I literally just wrote in the last year, which is quite
Nice.
different from the other two.
Yeah.
Um, and that, I journal a lot. And when you go through something that's challenging, I find your creativity can explode a little bit. So I was getting so inspired by my breakup and by all these different things that I was going through. And I would take, I would journal about it, write about it. And I would take that book, very, very Ally-esque in a way, but I would take that book to these sessions and talk about the ideas I had, and then we'd kind of write from there.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, journaling, writing, I can't write. So I can only imagine, like, I would love to have a journal with everything in there. So you kind of touched on it a little bit, but EP versus album, 3 different EPs. And then why did you decide to do 3 different instead of like a whole album?
I think it was my first time releasing a group of music together.
Okay.
And for me, I think there was, if I'm being honest, a little bit of fear associated with it, because there was something, oh my God, debut album.
Yeah.
Like a really big deal. And I just kind of wanted to like dip my toe in the water, I guess, in some ways. But once I had done the first one, I really wanted to do this trilogy of EPs. And I think for me, it was actually kind of the best thing to do, because as an artist, I was very much like still finding out things about myself and learning about myself. And the EP space in some ways gave me that freedom and less fear to do that. But I'm definitely ready, I think, to release an album. And I'm doing something kind of interesting on this EP that I don't want to totally give away. So I'm going to do the annoying thing where I'm like, I'm doing something cool, but I'm not going to talk about it. But essentially, something to show my fans that for sure there's going to be a lot more music coming sooner than they think.
Yeah. Were you ever like nervous? Because especially with this last one, were you like nervous to put your feelings like out there? You're really vulnerable in the song Worst Kind of Hurt. Yeah. So did that ever, do you just like, I'm going to put it out, this is how I feel? Or do you like, ooh, let me.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a, well, especially because when it's about somebody, and the person I was with also does music. And so I think there is a part of me that's like, I have to write for myself, and I have to express what I'm going through and utilize my creativity that way. However, I also do want to be respectful of my ex-partner, and it's a weird line to kind of toe. But it's not like I'm asking permission, or even I haven't even really been sending songs, but I definitely have been very much thinking of my partner while I've been releasing as well. So we're ex-partners. So yeah, it's definitely really scary to be vulnerable and really scary to put your feelings out there. But I also think those are the moments where you connect with people the most, because that's the one thing that I think really connects all of us, is that vulnerability and those low points that we all go through, even if they're about different things.
Yeah. You're doing your first headline tour after the release of this project. How excited are you? When was the last time you performed live? I know with COVID, it's been a mess and things are kind of getting back together.
100%. Well, it's funny because like the COVID and during the pandemic, I was performing all the time, but just in my house.
Yeah, okay.
So like I have performed live, not like more recently than not. However, like actually performing live in front of an audience probably was I did like a little I did a favor for friends right before COVID happened. It would have been February. It was like the day of the Oscars.
Yeah.
And they were having this cute event that I like performed an acoustic set for. But before that, I performed at the Roxy in 2019.
Okay.
That was really amazing. That was like my first, well, that's not true because I performed a lot in 2016. But that was like my first real show as an independent artist, which was really cool. But yeah, I am so ready to actually, for someone who's performed a bunch during the pandemic and you have the screen separating you, and you don't really get the audience participation and the audience connection. I'm so ready for that. And I'm excited because I end in Orlando.
I know, at the social, and I love the social. That is such a good venue too. Like I'm gonna have to slide out there because that's also like probably like a week or so before my birthday, I think, when you're gonna be there. So I'm like, oh my God, yes. I love the social too. I know a lot of good people, the people who run it, venue people, they're awesome. So they're gonna take care of you. Like, what is your favorite thing about performing? I have to ask you because I can't get up there.
Oh,
I'd see the people and I'd leave. So,
no, the people are the best part. That's the thing. Is
yeah.
like it's funny because you almost have to have two aspects of it, right? You have sometimes the zone that you're in, and so if I'm when I say that, I mean like if I'm really kind of concentrating on a part or really connecting to a part, I'll kind of like zone out the audience and just, look at the exit signs and,
Yeah.
perform that. But then, there are parts when you are directly making eye contact and connecting with your audience. And that's really powerful and beautiful too, right? To really just look at someone, to touch their hand, to, hopefully we'll see. I never have any expectations about it, but to potentially have people singing back lyrics to me of one of my songs.
Yeah.
I think that is really beautiful and really much uh, is the reason I think a lot of musicians and people who do music do what we do. Because even if you're not an artist, right, even if you're on the radio set or any of these things, the power of music in connecting us and bonding us and getting us excited about this song.
Yeah.
I think it's my favorite part. I love being an artist in music. I love being an audience in music. I think overall the connection is the most important part, and you get that so much when you're doing it live.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, I'm so happy I got to talk to you. This is like surreal for me. Good luck on tour. And I really cannot wait to see you in Orlando. It's going to be a good time. It's
Thank
going to be
you.
real
Thank you
lit.
so much.
Um,